How's it going, guys? This is Ryo Murata, photographer based in Tokyo. In today's video, I'd like to sort of talk about the Mamiya 645 camera insert, which I recently was able to snag from an online auction site, Yahoo Auction. So if you actually recall my previous video where I sort of visited a beer factory tour in Japan or in Tokyo, Suntory's, you can actually sign up for them and have a great time actually sipping beer. But I went a little bit off topic, but in that video I was sort of raised the surface of mentioning that the main advantage of shooting with 645, in my case Mamiya 645, is I get the additional amount of exposures and shots compared to my main film camera, which is a GW690 that can only shoot 8 exposures. The Mamiya 645 Super or the Pro or the 1000S can shoot double that, so 15 exposures. And due to that characteristics, what you get out of that is you don't have to basically reload the film when you're shooting during those times of, I guess, tour guides where you don't have that time to sort of swap out film, stocks. And I knew about this, so I did not bring my GW690 because I was confident that I would not be able to restock my film, remove it and add a new film in there, wind it to the other reel and start shooting, because I knew that the tour guide would never give me that much of a time to reload. So instead I basically shot with Mamiya 645 system. In addition to that, I kind of mentioned that the great thing about the Mamiya 645 system is that you can basically purchase these types of camera inserts. This is actually in a box actually. When you purchase a camera insert, in most cases, if I'm right, it should at least come with this black box, which sort of has the camera inserts. This is basically the exactly same insert that you get when you purchase a Mamiya Super, Pro, TL, or I guess any kind of Mamiya 645 camera, including the 1000S. If I'm right, it uses the exact same inserts. This one is for 120, 15 exposure film negatives. I will digress a little bit. There is a 220 version of the Mamiya 645 inserts. However, I not myself haven't experienced shooting with the 220, so I cannot vouch it. But I was basically talking with one of the camera store clerks at Used Camera Market in Shinjuku. In my last video, I actually was able to visit them, and I was basically questioning if I can use the 120 film stocks in a 220. He said no, you can't do that because the backing paper, the thickness, and I guess the mechanism is a little bit different, meaning that you will get some kind of problems when you stick in 120 into the 2020 film inserts. I'm going a little bit off topic, but yeah. In this video, I basically purchased the exact same one that I currently use, which is the 120. And this black box, it has a really tight fit, meaning that hopefully the light won't leak into the what I call the film insert itself. But I'm kind of skeptical because this box itself is fully plastic. So if during my free time, I might stick in those, in Japan we call it black foam, black mulch or something. I guess in North America you guys call it foam or something, to prevent light from entering this sort of plastic case. And at the bottom there's no cushion at the bottom, unfortunately, so we'll put additional foam there so that it won't scratch the back area of the insert. So yeah, that's the insert. Honestly, there's not much to talk about this insert, but for people who are new to the Mamiya 645 system, I guess the main reason why these exist is, I guess it's similar to shooting with 4x5. If you ever shot with 4x5, you always have this sort of cartilage or plastic, what you call folder, which you can insert 2 film negatives, 4x5s. And I think back in the days, if you were a professional, if you were a super, I guess, famous photographer back in the days, you had tens of those, 20 of those in a sort of a Dramamine case, a metal shiny case actually, and you basically bring that preloaded onto location, and when you set up your 4x5 cameras, you basically shoot continuously because it's already preloaded, and you can basically shoot if you have like 10 installed into each like folder, you can shoot 20 exposures. So same concept here. These existed because there were photographers like, not me, but people who wanted to like shoot continuously but did not want to sort of like reload film at location, because you know when you try to like insert film into 645, that actually takes quite a little bit of time, you know, and effort compared to like shooting with a rangefinder. So there were some photographers who wanted these types of, I guess, backups where you preload these beforehand, and if you have 2 of these or 3 of these, you can basically double or triple the amount of exposures on location. So you have like one already installed, pre-installed into your main camera, Mamiya 645 Super, and if you have another one of these, you can shoot 30 exposures. If you have 2 of these, you can shoot 45 exposures on location without, like, you know, pulling the backing paper across and, you know, fiddling around, you know, like reloading films. You can basically do that back at home, and for your traveling, you can basically like bring 2 of these and you're like good to go, kind of. So, and honestly, this type of style of like shooting, of like preloading it in here, probably only works if you know what specific type of film stock you're using, because there's a chance, and I think I mentioned about in my Mamiya 645 video, the reason why I sort of switched from the 1000S to the Pro is that you can have removable backs, and because you can basically remove the backs of the Mamiya Super and also the Pros, you can interchangeably shoot with black and white, monochrome, or color negatives as you wish on location. And I wanted to do that, but I don't have that much of an opportunity, unfortunately. However, this way of like changing the inserts, just the inserts only, can only apply for, I guess, people who are continuously shooting with one type of film stock. Because if my first film stock is Kodak Gold, and if I preloaded this with what, black and white monochrome HP5, once I finish shooting with Kodak Gold here, I am forced to like shoot with this specific like film stock, and I basically have to finish this roll, unfortunately, because this, unlike the back itself, this can only be like removed before or after shoot of shooting with, you know, 15 exposures. So you're kind of binded in a scenario where you have to like completely shoot with this insert. While there are, I guess, people out there who, instead of purchasing these types of inserts, they just purchase a new back, so you can basically load up with monochrome or color negatives and shoot interchangeably. I mean, there's like those 2 options, but I specifically shoot most of the time with color negatives, so I basically purchased extra inserts instead of backs. But I realize now that because I really want to shoot with black and white, I need to purchase a back. And this is another pros and cons, and it's sort of like on a scale, like what do you prefer to like shoot. And obviously price wise, these inserts cost 1/4 the price of the backs as of 2024. If I'm right, Mamiya 645 backs for the Pro and also the Super cost roughly near $80, $90, while these types of inserts cost roughly $20 USD. So it's like a toss-up, you know, on what kind of shooting style you have at your disposal. Oh, I forgot to mention, size-wise, the back is actually bigger. Ooh. The back type of what we call film backs are actually larger than the insert within the container. So, like, weight-wise, the back's heavier. It might be cumbersome to carry another one of these, while these inserts, you can basically, it's like batteries, you can actually carry another one of these. So you can carry like 2 of these inserts and continue shooting with it, shoot like 45 exposures within a day. I mean, that is like more like personal preference, and your shooting style will differ. I mean, I probably will need to get another one of these if I want to shoot with black and white on top of color negatives. So yeah, that's basically sort of like talking about the Mamiya 645's 120 camera inserts. And if I do have the time and if I do have the energy, I would love to try to get the 220 of this, and if I get the time and energy to get the Cinestill 400D, if the 220 is still in production, I do not know about that. It would be a nice experience. Instead of shooting 15 exposures, I can shoot 30 exposures on one film. So yeah, that's basically my video on this Mamiya 645 120 camera insert, and hopefully I clarified a lot of questions regarding this and the reasons why this exists, while there are people out there who just shoot with another back. I mean, it's a toss-up actually. And yeah, and also, not to mention, like I said, this costs roughly $20, but the 220 version, because there's like no 220 films, costs 1/4 the price of this. If I'm right, when I last checked on a sort of like a Craigslist type of site, you can purchase this for like the 220 version for 1,000 yen or so, if I'm right. So yeah, if you ever try shooting the 220 version with 120 film on the Mamiya 645 system, I'd love to hear from you guys. What's the experience like? Does it really work or not? So yeah, that's my video of the camera insert. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, found it informative. If you have any questions, I'm happy to reply. And yeah, we will see you next time. Peace out.